Heated debate over a $90 million plan to build more bike lanes across San Diego. Why business owners are fighting it.
New video reportedly showing the moment the Ukrainian airliner was hit by a missile over Iran.
And people across the state discussing the potential economic impact of legalizing sports betting in California. 10 News Midday starts now.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
Happening right now, the Sandag Board of Directors is deciding whether to approve plans to spend $90 million on projects that support bicycling. I'm Virginia Cha.
And I'm Jim Patton. 10 News reporter Marie Cornell live downtown. And Marie, what's happened thus far?
So, Jim, right now they are listening to public comment. I'm told there are about more than 36 people who have signed up to speak. We caught up with a bicyclist right before the meeting who says this extra funding has to happen.
I started my trip at 5:15 in the morning in the dark. I rode along roads that have no shoulder, so I have to wear a full face helmet in case I get hit by a car. So we really need to invest in not only bike lanes but buffered bike lanes. The sharrows are really helpful, but there's a lot more that we need to do.
In 2004, taxpayers approved a transportation tax increase. At the time, $200 million of that was earmarked for bike and pedestrian projects, which included more bike lanes, safety features on the roads for cyclists and foot traffic, and new walking trails. But during the Sandag Board of Directors meeting this morning, it was presented because of construction costs rising. There's a need for an additional $90 million for these projects, which many have already been started. That money would come out of the funds already allocated for these types of projects. Those who don't want to approve this extra funding say only 1% of San Diegans use bikes, and it's costing $5.5 million per mile built for these bike lanes. Now, we do have a crew upstairs at that meeting. We are monitoring what's going on. We'll have another update coming up in 30 minutes. We are live from downtown. Marie Cornell, 10 News.
Marie, thank you so much. And also at that meeting this morning, Sandag getting the green light for a $5 million project to stabilize Bluffs in Del Mar. In November, we saw part of the bluffs crumble just feet away from the train track. A temporary fix was put in place in December. Now, though, Sandag is hoping to use that $5 million for something that's more permanent. It will go toward upgrading drainage in that area and generally improving the stability. Work on that is expected to start by the end of the month.
Sandag crews will also be on the tracks this weekend to work on improvements between Oceanside and downtown. That means no trains will be running to Santa Fe Depot Saturday and Sunday. The closure begins at midnight tonight. It'll last through 5 Monday morning. This is a routine closure to focus on the tracks of the Coastal Rail Corridor, which is used by the North County Transit District, Metrolink, Amtrak, and freight carriers.
Take a look at this new video overnight showing what appears to be the moment that a missile struck a commercial plane. You saw the flash there flying over Iran. The cell phone video showing the plane flying before this, an explosion that happens in the sky, and you can see the flash coming up there again. Now, other cell phone video from Tehran purports to show that same plane after the explosion, falling out of the sky before crashing in the distance, lighting up the night sky. CCTV video showing the impact of the crash. Iran has denied that the plane was shot down. It says it has black boxes from the plane, but data hasn't been collected yet, and the crash site has reportedly been cleared. They have invited the U.S. to join the investigation into the crash.
Meanwhile, in Washington, the debate is raging on how to respond to Iran. This morning, the Trump administration announcing several new sanctions on Iranian companies and leaders. But as ABC's Mona Kosar Abdi reports, Congress is focused on the president's war powers.
This morning, the Trump administration responding to Iran's retaliatory missile strike on U.S. forces in Iraq.
Today's sanctions are part of our commitment to stop the Iranian regime's global terrorist activities.
The president had promised the punishing sanctions on his address to the nation the day after the attack. Sanctions already touch every part of the Iranian economy, with Trump ramping up enforcement efforts last April to push Iran's oil exports, its economic lifeblood, down to zero.
The goal of our campaign is to deny the regime the resources to conduct its destructive foreign policy. We want Iran to simply behave like a normal nation. We believe the sanctions that we impose today further that strategic objective.
Following Iran's rocket attacks on those military bases in Iraq, the president has refrained from any immediate threats of military action against the Iranian regime. Democrats, however, are concerned about the president's lack of congressional involvement in matters involving Iran.
The president to say, "Oh, I inform you by reading my tweets." No, that's not the relationship that our founders had in mind.
And on Thursday, the sharply divided House took a vote to limit the president's war-making powers.
The bill is passed.
The non-binding resolution requires the president to get congressional approval for any future military action against Iran that lasts longer than 30 days. 3 Republicans supported the measure.
It is this body that needs to make that decision, and the United States Senate.
The White House calling the war powers resolution, quote, ridiculous and completely misguided. In the briefing this morning, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo backed the president's claim that Iranian General Soleimani was plotting to blow up a U.S. embassy, a justification for his killing that some lawmakers claim was not mentioned in their intelligence briefings this week. Mona Kosarabdi, ABC News, Washington.
And meanwhile, there is movement on the impeachment front. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she plans to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate next week. Since the House voted to impeach last month, Pelosi has been delaying the process in hopes of leveraging the Republican Senate into allowing new witnesses and meeting other requests. According to the Associated Press, Senate Majority Leader has been telling GOP colleagues to expect the impeachment trial to start as early as next week.
Within the last hour, the governor, you can see them at the podium there, unveiling his record-breaking budget proposal. Governor Newsom's $222.2 billion plan includes increased funding for health care, homeless outreach, and mental health. It also includes the ambitious idea of a state-owned generic drug label and a single drug purchasing market in California. We will have more details on his budget on later editions of 10 News. Also, overnight, a stolen pickup truck ended up on its side in the middle of an 805 on-ramp after a pursuit. It started just after 11 last night when police tried to pull over the driver. The driver took off, leading police on a chase until the truck rolled on the Imperial on-ramp to the southbound 805. Now, 4 people got out of this truck and ran. Police caught 2 of them.
A group of 11 people lined up in handcuffs after being arrested for breaking into a liquor store in Mission Valley. At 4 this morning, the owner of Valley Liquor on Hotel Circle South received an alert about activity in the liquor store. He called police, and when officers got there, they say they found the group of young people at the Atwood Hotel next door, and they arrested them. Police say the group was at a party at that hotel and decided to break into the liquor store after they ran out of alcohol.
Nearly 4 dozen legislators from across the country are in San Diego to talk about the state of the gaming industry. Now, sports betting has been a hot topic in many states. 10 News reporter Natay Holmes joining us live from downtown. Natay, gaming industry leaders are saying California could see sports betting in the near future.
That's right. 14 states have legalized sports betting and several more will be implementing it this year. Now, gaming leaders believe that California could be next on the list, but there are a lot of factors that come into play before legalizing it.
You've got the tribal gaming entities, you've got the card rooms, you've got the pari-mutuel interests, you've got the lottery, and you've got the sports betting providers themselves that may want to offer it directly through an online offering. And that's also a big question for California, as it has been in other states, is are you going to offer only land-based, or are you going to also offer it digitally as well, or online?
Joseph Weiner with Spectrum Gaming Group says sports betting can bring in more money to the state as well as jobs. According to the American Gaming Association, if sports betting is legalized in the state, California could see more than $2.5 billion annually in gross revenue. Nearly 80% of that revenue would come from online betting. The National Council of Legislators from gaming states are holding their 3-day winter meeting at the Marriott in downtown. The attendees include more than 40 legislators from 20 gaming states. Throughout the event, speakers will discuss gaming policies, trends, and best practices. We're told there will also be representatives from the NFL Players Association and the NCAA to talk with the group about how sports betting can impact the players. Live in downtown, Nate Holmes, 10 News.
Nate, thank you. And some sad breaking news to tell you about. Just minutes ago, Alliant University in Scripps Ranch confirming to 10 News a student of theirs was among those who died in this week's Iranian plane crash. University says that Sarah Sadat was a clinical psychology student from Edmonton, Canada. U.S., Canada, and U.K. officials suggest Iran shot down that plane. Iran has denied that, and they have invited the U.S. to join the investigation into the crash.